students. In the previous class we learned a prose. So today we are going to learn a poem. So the title of the poem is Wind and it is written by Subramania Bharati. So Subramania Bharati wrote this poem in Tamil language and it is translated in English by A.K Ramanujan. So today we are going to learn the poem Wind written by Subramania Bharati. So first we can have a look at the profile of the author. So let's have the profile of the author. Chinnaswamy Subramania Bharati, also known as Bharatiyar. He was born on 11th December 1882 and he was died on 11th September 1921. He was a Tamil writer, poet and journalist and Indian independence activist and social reformer from Tamil Nadu. So Subramania Bharati is a great Tamil poet famous for his patriotism in the pre-independence era. So that's all about Subramania Bharati, and I told you that this poem is originally written in Tamil language by Subramania Bharati and it is translated in English by A.K Ramanujan. So let's know about A.K Ramanujan. A.K Ramanujan is a Kannada and English poet and he is well known for his translation of classical and modern poetry. In this poem, we are going to discuss about the destructive power of wind. The wind blows strongly and it causes a lot of destruction. So in this poem, we are going to discuss how can we make friends with it.
Wind by Subramania Bharati. It is a beautiful poem in which the poet is talking to the wind and is highlighting its destructive power. He has linked the destructive power of the wind to the adversities of life and says that weak people break down, but stronger people emerge out of adversities stronger. In the first stanza, the poet requests the wind to come softly and not to break the window shutters and not to scatter the papers. She also requests the wind not to throw down books from the shelf. Then the poet complains to the wind that in spite of his request, it blew strongly and threw the books off the shelf, tore their pages and brought the rain. In the second stanza, the poet says the wind makes fun of the weaklings and crushes the crumbling houses, crumbling doors, crumbling rafters, crumbling wood, crumbling bodies, crumbling lives and crumbling hearts. Here the word crumbling is repeated many times to emphasize a viewpoint that everything that is weak crumbles in the face of a strong wind. The powerful god of wind winnows human beings. He sifts all the people and those who are weak fall down and get crushed. Here a comparison is made between wheat and people. Just like we winnow the wheat to separate the grain from chaff, the wind god separates the strong people from the weak. In the last stanza, the poet suggests that the wind will not obey us. The poet wants us to make friends with the wind, that is, to accept the adversities in life. He says that the problems will keep coming in, so we should be prepared to face them. We should build strong homes and close the doors of our house firmly so that the wind cannot get in. And then he says that we should also make our bodies strong and hearts firm to face the challenges in life. Once we are strong enough, we can overcome all the adversities. If we become strong, the wind will befriend us. The wind supports the strong fires but extinguishes weak fires. The friendship of wind is good, and we should praise the god for wind every day. The poem gives an important message that we should make ourselves mentally tough and physically strong in order to survive the hardships of life. A weak person crumbles down like a weak building. We must make these destructive forces our friends with our strength and determination. And then we will be happy that we had these challenges in our life because they help us become stronger and better.
Let's have a detailed study of the poem. So, in this poem, we are going to learn the destructive power of wind. We all know that wind is a natural phenomenon. In this poem, the poet talks to the wind. The power of wind has been described, and the poet says that wind is destructive. So he has linked the destructive power of wind to the adversities of life and says that the weak people break down, but stronger people will emerge out of difficulties. The poem gives an important message that we should be mentally tough and physically strong in order to survive the hardships of life. A weak person breaks down like a weak building and crumples. We must make these destructive forces our friends with our strength and determination. So, the poet also advises us to be strong in mind as well as body. The wind symbolizes the difficulties and challenges that we face in our life. The poet suggests that we should face all of them boldly and stay firm in difficult situations. The poem can be summarized in the following ways to prove the fact represented by Subramania Bharati. So, in this poem, the poet represented the two facts, that is, violence and destruction. Although the poet requests the wind to blow gently, but it does not accept the request. The wind blows violently and causes destruction. So in this poem, the poet also discusses about the result of storm. The wind breaks the shutters of weak windows. It scatters the papers and throws down books on the shelves. In this poem, the poet discusses the third fact, that is, fun of Almighty Wind God. So the poet has regarded wind as God, so he had given a godly power to wind. He says that he makes fun of the weak persons and things. So the fast blowing wind destructed weak house, weak doors, and weak bodies. So the poet is having the opinion that if you are weak, people can easily destroy you. So Subramania Bharati suggests us to build strong houses and strong doors so that we can withstand our opponents. We must be healthy physically and mentally, and it will help the wind to be friend with us. So, to sum up the poem, people with strong physique and mind are able to stand and face odds, obstacles of life. Let's discuss the first stanza of the poem, Wind. Wind, come softly. Don't break the shutters of the windows. Don't scatter the papers. Don't throw down the books on the shelves. There, look what you did. You threw them all down. You tore the pages of the books. You brought rain again. In this poem, the poet is talking to the wind, and he asks the wind to come softly. So he is saying that the wind should not be very strong. So the poet is requesting the wind to come slowly. Then he says that the wind is very powerful and it is destructive in nature. It breaks the shutters of windows and scatters the papers. When the wind is very powerful, all the books which are kept on the shelf will fall down. So here the poet is describing the power of the wind. Then he says that the wind to look at the destruction that he had done. Whenever there is a strong wind, all the things that are weak, like small plants, tiny children, etc., they all will get scared and they can even fall and get hurt. So we can say that in the initial part of the poem, the poet is referring to wind as a young child. He is saying that it should come softly, just like a small child does. In the later part, we come to know that the wind is destructive, just like a youth, just like a young boy or young girl who is full of energy, violence, and destruction. You are very clever at poking fun at weaklings. Frail, crumbling houses, crumbling doors, crumbling rafters, crumbling wood, crumbling bodies, crumbling lives, crumbling hearts. The wind god winnows and crushes them all. Here, the poet is telling us that the wind is poking at the weaklings. What do you mean by poking fun? Poking fun means making fun of something. Here, the wind is making fun of weak people. We can see that in this stanza, the poet uses the word crumbling. What do you mean by the word crumbling? Crumbling means falling or to cause something to break. So here the poet uses the word crumbling several times. Why? Because he wants to lay stress that everything crumbles in the face of a strong wind. So the writer is saying that when a wind is very powerful, it is very strong, what will happen? It leads to breakage of everything. Houses which are weak fall, doors which are weak fall, the beams on which the roof of the building are supported, they also fall. All the wooden structures fall, all bodies of people fall, animals, lives, hearts, etc. So he is saying that everything crumbles. Everything that is weak reacts by falling down and breaking in the face of adversity or difficulty. So the poet is saying that whenever a weak person faces any adversity or challenge in his life, he breaks down and falls. The poet is addressing to wind as wind god, and he is saying that the powerful god of wind winnows. That means he sifts all the people, and those people who are weak fall down and get crushed. So here a comparison is made between wheat and people. Just like we winnow the wheat to separate the grain from chaff, the wind god separate the strong people from the weak people. So when there is a strong wind, all the things that are weak fall and get crushed. Let's discuss the third stanza of the poem. He won't do what you tell him. So come, let's build strong homes. Let's join the doors firmly. Practice to firm the body. Make the heart steadfast. Do this, and the wind will be friends with us. The poet wants us to make friends with the wind, which means that the poet make or want us to make a friendship with the adversities in our life. And he says that the problems will not listen to us. They will come. Yes, obviously they will come. So what we need to do is we should be prepared for that. In preparation, we should build strong homes and close the doors of our house firmly so that the wind cannot get into. And then he says that we should also make our bodies strong and hearts firm to face these challenges. And then once we are strong enough, all the challenges will be like friends. We will not feel that they are troublesome. So here the poet is telling us that steadfast. What do you mean by the word steadfast? Which means we should be firm in facing the difficulties of our life. So now we can discuss the last stanza of this poem, Wind. The wind blows out weak fires. He makes strong fires roar and flourish. His friendship is good. We praise him every day. The poet has kept the wind on a pedestal, and he is comparing the wind to God. And in the stanza, we can see that he is referring wind to wind God. And he says that wind is God and we praise wind every day. He adds that everything that is weak get finished off in the face of the strong wind, which means that if we are weak, everything will be finished off within seconds. If we are strong enough, we can withstand and face the obstacles or difficulties in our life. And all the things that are strong flourish and grow to become stronger. So he is giving us a very important message that we should not feel bad that we are facing so many challenges and adversities in life. what we should do is we should make ourselves physically and mentally strong to face these challenges. And once we are strong enough, we will overcome all the challenges and difficulties in our life. So we will become friends with them, and then we will be happy that we had these challenges in our life because they help us to become stronger and better. So that's all about the poem Wind. I hope you understood the poem very well. Now we can discuss the poetic devices that are used in this poem. In the first stanza, the poet uses the poetic device anaphora. So we can see that in the second, third, and fourth line, the poet uses the word don't. So a word that is repeated at the start of two or more consecutive lines, it is the device of anaphora. So here the poet uses the technique or poetic device called anaphora. In the sixth, seventh, and eighth line also we can see that the word you is repeated. So here also the poet uses the technique anaphora. In this stanza we can see that the word crumpling is repeated many times to lay emphasis. So the poet wants to say that the wind crushes everything that is weak. So that is why he repeats the word crumpling. So here he uses the poetic device repetition. You can see that wind has been personified. When the poet says you are, he is referring to wind as you. That means he is treating wind as a person. So here he used the poetic device personification, and he is giving the humanistic character to wind. In this stanza, we can see that the poet uses the poetic device alliteration in the last line. The wind god winnows and crushes them all. Here the poet is repeating the consonant sound in close connection. Wind winnows. Ver sound is repeated, so here the poet uses the poetic device alliteration. The poet uses symbolism in this poem. Symbolism means that the thing refers to some other thing. So wind is a symbol and it refers to the challenges in life. So here the poet is using wind as a symbol for the adversities in our life. Hope you got some idea about the poem and about the poet. So thank you and have a nice day.